We're not allowed to. You got to pick your path and then shovel it
Mhm.
all the way into debt. That's what we
Right.
figured out. Like, pick your path. You're going to be a
Yeah.
doctor, but at
Hmm.
the end of it, you're going to have $250,000 worth of student loans. You're going to
Hmm.
have to need a house this size. Your wardrobe is going to have to cost this much. Your car is
Hmm.
going to have to be this. So everything is set. That's what
Hmm.
you are now, and that's what you own.
Hmm.
And that's what we have now. There is no more, I want to be a guitar playing
Yeah.
garbage man that likes to be a stripper at night. There's none of that stuff. You know what I mean? We can't even think about that. And that's just not fair.
Guitar playing garbage man stripper.
Yeah. Heck
I
yeah.
love it.
My friend was telling me her daughter, and I'm not, there's no names here. She doesn't like her body. Like, she doesn't
Mhm.
having the curves and the female parts she has.
Yeah.
And so she's thinking maybe, she
Mhm.
wants to talk about transitioning. And my
Mhm.
friend she's like, well, I had to talk her away from that. And I was like, I don't know. I think if it becomes serious enough, she'll start planning for it and saving for it. But all she needs to know is that she gets to be the best her
Mhm.
every second, every minute.
Right.
She's not a boy. She doesn't have to be a girl. She can be a turtle and she'll still be the best her that there is out there.
Mhm.
And that's what's important. And I think
Right.
what's amazing about the world today, despite Donald Trump, is
Mhm.
people get to be what they want to be when they want to be it. That she doesn't have to be. And so I kind of wanted to ask you, in hopes my
Yeah.
friend listened, because there's this question about being non-binary, and
Mm.
I get it. I'm not, but I don't think I'm explaining it correctly to people. And
Sure.
I'm learning that there is a lot of people I know that want to know what that means. Could you
Yeah.
help me with that? That wasn't anything I had planned, but
Sure.
I would like to know.
Yeah. Exactly. So, non-binary. Um, Gender is a spectrum. Gender does not associate necessarily with biological sex. So,
Right.
biological sex, you have two ends of a spectrum, quote unquote, male and female.
Right.
Um, Gender is more of a spectrum of hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity, and how you present that, um, and how you feel that. So it's kind of an interchangeable, like, internal and external thing. Um, you don't. Nobody owes you how to present your gender dress wise, and what we call performing gender.
Hmm.
Nobody owes you. So, like, a non-binary person does not need to obviously be non-binary. Like, so it's almost, it's difficult to explain, because um, when you say transgender, it's almost more like, we talk about that being, you're in an incorrect body, right? You're born in, say you're female to male transgender. You were born female, but you don't feel comfortable in that body,
Right.
because your gender is actually male, and so you transition your body to match that thing.
To match your
So
mind.
your biological sex doesn't match your gender. So
Yeah.
that's when we're saying transgender, you can be transgender and not change your biological physical body.
Right. Right.
um so being non-binary is essentially, you don't feel either of those ends of the spectrum. You're
Okay.
somewhere else in the middle.
Okay. That's good to
um
know.
yeah, so, and it can be a combination of things. Like, I, on a scale of masculinity to femininity, fall on either end, and also somewhere in the middle, where, so it's like, depends on the day, depends on the weather, depends on the time of year. Like,
Of
I
course.
find myself feeling more feminine during the summer, when I want to wear a dress and I feel really comfortable, but I also end up doing less of my makeup during the summer, because I'm like, fuck that, I don't want to wear anything, it's hot outside.
Right.
um but when I'm wearing a dress, I don't cross my legs, I don't shave my legs, am I just don't care if I match what you would consider a woman, quote unquote, to
Right.
look like.
Right.
Um,
You
on
get to be who you
that.
want when you want.
hmm So it's
Yeah.
like, and these are ideas of like masculinity and femininity, and that's social. So it's not inherent. If you're a guy, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to really like sports. That is a social and cultural thing.
Yeah.
um so it's being non-binary is like saying fuck the cultural expectations of what my gender is essentially supposed to look like, and also I don't fit into either ends of those spectrum. um
Right.
so I consider myself non-binary.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's I think it's in the end what everybody's striving to be. If they were open and honest with themselves, they'd realize they had certain moments that were more submissive and more that were more dominant and some
Mhm.
that were more, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. You can't isolate a creature into one thing. Now,
right.
the thing about being non-binary is that like it's not disregarding the importance of the gender binary to people who are transgender, right? You
Mm,
have to consider that. Like, so just because it's a spectrum doesn't mean that you don't fall on one end of that. You could be absolutely biologically female and female gendered and feel great about that. That's
yes.
fine. But the issue is that people get like what we call squicked out. They get, it's like, ooh, I don't like that. Ugh. When they think about somebody not being right in their body. And I just ask those people to extrapolate how that would feel if you, so that if that were you, like, if imagine how grossed out you feel. You're like, oh no, icky. Somebody's like doesn't like the body they're in. Now make that like 100 times worse
Mm-hmm.
and look at that from the other person's perspective. Ew, icky. I'm in the wrong body.
Yeah. But
And
why do you
that's
get to
what that's
gain
like.
why do you get to gain weight and lose weight? Why is it that you get to be fat and you get to be short?
Yeah, why do you get to have breast implants and
Right.
that guy can't,
But
like it.
nobody I know likes the body they're in, and they would change
Agreed.
something about it. So
Mhm.
it's hypocritical to say that there's a limit on that. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I think I think it's fucking incredible that somebody
hmm
gets to be like all their life they're like they got this itch, they got this itch, they got this itch, and then one day they're like, "Ah, I don't have that itch anymore." It's the most beautiful thing. I know people that have transitioned or are in transitioning. I don't go
hmm
around asking what grade level they are. All I know is that they're freaking happy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can just see how happy they are, and I
Mhm.
love that. Happy people don't hurt people.
Right. Well, and I think that's what makes it so extra painful and difficult when they're persecuted for just wanting to be them, because like,
Yeah.
okay, like fuck you for getting a piercing or a tattoo. Like, you're doing the
Mm-hmm.
same goddamn thing. You're changing what your body looks like. You don't get
Yep.
to tell that person how to feel in their body.
Right.
Well, I just feel better when I get tattooed. Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
me too. And maybe I would feel better if I didn't have tits anymore. Like,
Right.
like,
I work
don't
out eight
judge
hours
me.
a day because I don't like my body. Oh yeah, but they can't work their penis away. You know what I mean?
Right. They can't pay money to get rid of that? Or is
They
that
can't.
cheating
There's no
you?
barbell that you can lift that gets rid of the penis. You know what I mean? So they have to go about it another way. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Fuck.
So, yeah, yeah, it's, people
But
are
I
gross.
love that people get to be who they want to be. Like,
hmm
yeah, my friend's daughter, she doesn't have to make that decision, right? I
Right.
that's the thing. She can put
hmm
on overalls and a cowboy hat
Right.
and go out and be as butch as she wants, and that's
hmm
great. She gets to be her. And
Yeah.
the minute she meets a boy that's like, wow, you're pretty, you got curves, she can be like, you want to see those curves? And boom,
Mm-hmm.
it's to be that. And that's the cool thing. She doesn't
Yeah.
have to make the decision and say, I'm I'm Jane. I'm the worst version of Jane out there. This is it. She can be like, nope, I'm the best version of Jane, and Jane is just being pretty shitty to herself right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And not everybody has the like funds to be able to change their body. And
yeah,
so, you have to be sensitive to that kind of stuff. And that's why like I have a hard time with, just be happy in the body that you have. I have a really hard time with that because fuck that, first of all. No, that's why people change things about themselves. They get plastic surgery,
you
they
know.
grow their hair out, they cut their hair off, whatever.
And plus, don't tell me what to do with in my life. You don't know anything about it.
Yeah. And it's like you can have an opinion about it for yourself. You
Maybe I
don't
will
have
be
to
happy in the
necessarily like that for
body I'm
yourself.
in, but that's not your place to